This country's ambassador to the UN, Bob Rae, was at that emergency meeting in Jamaica and has just returned to New York, which is where he joins us from. Hi, Ambassador Rae. Pleasure to welcome you back to the show. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you very much, Vassy.
How significant, Ambassador, is it in your view that the Prime Minister says he will resign?
I think he concluded that the political consensus required him to make way for his successor, whoever that will be. And I feel, frankly, I know him well. I feel badly for him, but I think that was his conclusion. And I think, based on all the discussions that we had leading up to this meeting yesterday, that I was not shocked to hear that. But I also want to make it very clear that I was not one of those people who felt that he had to go, and I had to tell him that he had to go, because that was my view was that's not my decision. That's a decision for him and for the political actors and for the people of Haiti. We'll have to see now whether the parties are willing to take up the challenge of really taking on this transition process and really rolling up their sleeves and getting to it. And we had a very long discussion about that very question last night, and they all said yes, they would, and they would participate in it, and they were eager to get at it. And we said, well, that's what you got to do. And in the most difficult of circumstances, as you know.
What is your sense, your level of faith that will be the case?
I don't know what to say. You got to believe. I mean, it is we've got to try just about anything to get us to a point where we have a basis for more stability in Haiti. I think everyone I have spoken to says that you've got to have a wider consensus, and that having such a degree of a gap between the people and the politicians in a time of such an extraordinary epidemic of criminality that we're seeing now in Haiti, when that happens, something's got to give. So let's hope something gives. And there are a lot of very talented people in the country. And I do believe that the people of Haiti have the ability to get out of this thing, but it's going to take a lot of work. And that's what we're up against right now.
What is at stake if it doesn't work?
Well, I mean, if this doesn't work, then you try something else. But I mean, the reality is this is the best option now that we were able, the eminent persons group from the Caribbean was able to come up with, and we supported them in that process. We were obviously involved and consulted during the whole process. And the Prime Minister was, our Prime Minister was very much in the loop as to, what was going on. And we've been at this for quite a while. I mean, we've been at this for over a year, just in terms of trying to create the conditions that will allow for a serious transition process and then elections. And it's taken too long, in my opinion, but there it is. It's not my calendar, so they run this. But you got to know that everything's at stake here in terms of the stability of Haiti and the safety and security of their people. And everyone who says to me, well, it couldn't get much worse than this, I say, it still can. I mean, absolutely. All the things that happen when countries completely fall apart, that's what can happen. And you've got to establish order and stability, and then continue with the development process and move to elections. That's what has to happen. But if the people decide they don't want to do that, or they can't agree as to how to do that, that's going to be a serious challenge for them and, frankly, for all of us.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why I was asking about what's at stake, and I'll sort of give you a bit more of an idea of why. I host a radio show, and I was covering this today with the ambassador to Haiti, Canada's ambassador. I was getting a lot of phone calls in and text messages from people who were maybe questioning what you or other diplomats might take for granted. Like, why is it necessary for international, concern / potentially intervention / why is everyone getting to, what makes this such an emergency? I think obviously, understandably, it's chaos, it's turmoil, but why should, in your view, Canadians care? What are the stakes?
Well, I think that's a question that actually I think is essential. And I have a lot of respect for the Canadian public and public opinion, and I think it's a question we all have to answer. And I think there's basically two things that are on my mind the most about this. And I'm still thinking about the answer to the question because I think it's a big one. The first one has to do with security, and it has to do with the fact that Haiti is in our neighborhood. And that degree of violence and that degree of crime and criminality in the region, in Haiti and around Haiti, eventually comes to us as a problem. And we need to understand that why are people moving around Latin America and heading towards borders and trying to move off from where they are? Because they're not safe, because they don't feel they can make a living where they are, and they are bound to feel they have to move. So it's in our self-interest to create stable, sustainable, democratic places to help make that happen. But the first thing is stable. And you've got to look at this question of order is something that having a whole bunch of disorder in our neighborhood is a bad idea. And we can't turn away from it. And we can't say, that's too far away, we don't really care. These people are doing these terrible things, and why should we care about it? Well, the answer is because it'll hurt us eventually if we don't. That's the first one. But the second one is, I don't know about you, but if I see somebody who's in deep trouble, in deep crisis, when I'm walking down the street, I don't just I'm not one of those people who says, oh, turn away, somebody else will take care of that, don't worry about it, not my job, nothing to look at here, let's just keep moving. I don't think we can afford to walk on by when people are suffering as much as that. And that's true for Haiti, and it's true for, frankly, the world. We do respond because we're human beings and because we care about what happens to other people. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have a responsibility to care for themselves, but I think, if I may say so, Vassy, I think there's a reason why you're getting those calls, and I think the reason is because there are political forces all over the world that are telling people it's time to stop caring, and it's time to stop worrying about what's happening to other people. And that is now coming to Canada. And so those people like me who think differently, have got to be prepared with really good arguments as to why that's really not very smart. It's not very wise to think that way, and why it's really important for us to worry about what happens, and not just to worry, but to try to do something about it. You don't just rush in and say, I'm going to solve your problems, don't worry about it. But you do say, let's figure out what's causing this, and let's try to get at it, because we can't afford to be negligent in looking at these crises that are happening all around the world.
I just have 30 seconds left, unfortunately. I just wanted to conclude with a logistical question for you, if you don't mind, because the ambassador yesterday said that they felt safe, they were staying there, unlike some of their counterparts in the U.S. and the EU, who were evacuated, over the weekend, but they were planning for any eventuality. And I just wanted to ask you, Ambassador, if Canada has the capacity to evacuate them from a military perspective, even if that point does arise.
I am told we do.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that's something we're obviously thinking about, but not in a way that is a response to panic. Our ambassador there is doing a great job, Ambassador Giroux. He's a great guy and really working hard. And I think he's got a good judgment as to what's happening on the ground.
Okay, Ambassador, I'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.